Why do I play this game still? I don't get it. But this is my 2019 Ram 1500. It is a vehicle I never planned on getting, and I never planned on driving it as long as I did. This is that Ram I had for about 5 years or so, and that is the longest I've ever owned and driven the same car in my driving career. I've always been one of those people to buy a used car, keep it for a couple years, and then sell it, try to get a better used car. You know, I had an Evo in college, which was great, except for it was horrible for commuting, which is what I used it for. It didn't have like cruise control, and I eventually sold that. I then had a Mustang Cobra 2004, the Terminator. It was a convertible. It was Mr. Chrome. It was the Evo and that Mustang were the coolest cars I ever had. I really wish I had both of them. Both the Evo is really expensive now, and so is the Mustang, especially if you have the Mr. Chrome like I had. Unfortunately, the Mustang was super modified. Somebody spent tons and tons of money modifying it. It had a Mammoth supercharger. It had all rebuilt internals. It was kind of nuts what the amount of money they put into it. But it did make like 650, 700 horsepower to the wheels. Funny enough, one of the first videos I ever made on YouTube, on a channel I had years ago, was me doing 0 to 100 in that car. It sounded, that's probably the best sounding engine, in my opinion, that's ever been made. I stand by that. That car sounded great. But either way, I didn't have those. I sold them eventually, got other boring stuff. But eventually I had a 2014 Jeep Cherokee, which I hated at the time when they first came out. I thought they're ugly. Trailhawk. And that was the first time I ever got to experience any kind of driver assistance or driver aids. It had rudimentary lane keep. It did the ping pong thing between the lanes, which I still thought was pretty phenomenal. And it had adaptive cruise. And ever since I had that vehicle, I was like, when I replace this, I want to get a Tesla, because Tesla, the reason I wanted to get a Tesla was just because of full self-driving. However, at the time, Tesla was going through the production hell. My wife drove a 2011 Malibu, so I figured if I get this Tesla, this is going to be our road trip car, because although you can take road trips in electric cars, I'm not really wanting to waste time charging when I could just fill up a regular car. So I didn't do it. I ended up leasing the truck and having it forever. I actually sold it to Carvana, which was a first for myself. I know a lot of people had crazy horror stories with selling stuff to Carvana, but they gave me a pretty good offer. Now that that car was gone and my wife had a new car, I finally went out and I got a Tesla. I got the Model 3 Performance, which is different than what I originally thought I was gonna get. I kind of debated if I was gonna get the 3 or the Y, and I actually went back and I test drove the Y, and I was pretty sold on getting a Model Y long range. But when the time came to finally bite the bullet and order one, I decided that a Performance was what I wanted to get. While I was waiting, I actually thought about maybe just getting an Evo like I used to have. Probably a 9 this time, not the 8. But then I saw the used prices and I was just like, that's ridiculous. So I started searching around for, I kind of wanted something sportier. And I couldn't get a Corvette because I don't have back seats and I have kids. They don't make the Evo anymore. Tesla or Mitsubishi doesn't really make anything cool. The STI is not made anymore. I thought about a Camaro ZL1, but they're getting discontinued and it's rear-wheel drive. I live in Michigan and the back seats are tiny. So the options were quite limited. And that's when I started thinking, well, maybe a Model 3 Performance will be the commuter car I want. It'll be fun to drive. It'll have the performance, and it'll obviously have 4 doors and a back seat for the kids. So that was the plan. I went back, I test drove a Performance, and that's when I figured out, well, that's when I learned that the Model 3 Highland, or the refresh, was coming out, and I wasn't about to buy the old one and then have the new one come out. So I waited. And then it was finally launched, and the Performance didn't come out. So I waited some more. And I literally would just sit and refresh the screen on the Tesla website, just waiting for the Performance to drop, watching all the rumors. And eventually, the day it did drop is the day I ordered it. I ordered about 30 minutes after it went live on Tesla's website. And I took delivery May 31st, 2024. And up until today, I've driven it 917 miles, which is actually quite a bit considering I mostly just drive to and from work. And I've been, driving around kind of exploring the whole Tesla universe. The reason I wanted a Tesla was full self-driving. And full self-driving, this car currently has it in its 30-day demo. And I might actually keep it once it lapses. I mean, it's $99 a month. What it can do is phenomenal compared to what it could do back when I tried it in 2018. And it's just getting better every day. Now, it's not perfect at all. There is some weird, goofy things it likes to do, like we just went through that flashing yellow light And it doesn't really know what to do with that. It sees the flashing yellow light, and it seems like it assumes it's going to go red, so it sees the yellow, it starts to slow down, the light goes off, red doesn't come on, yellow comes back on, it speeds back up. And it kind of just pulses like that. It's really annoying. And then on the interstate, on the way to work, there's construction, and there's one specific on-ramp that it wants to lane change into every single day, and I have to stop it. And I don't know why it does that, or maybe it has something to do with the construction, but it just has little weird quirky things like that. But other than that, it works better than I could have ever expected. Definitely works better than like my wife's Denali that has lane keep from GMC, which is garbage. My 2014 Jeep, it's way better than that. It's pretty much, I think, the best driver's aid out there. I know there's things like Blue Cruise and Super Cruise, but they only work on specific highways. This will work literally anywhere. You got to pay attention, right? Because it kind of makes some goof ups every now and then, but it never really fails in a way that's dangerous. It always gives you plenty of warning. You kind of feel, you kind of know what it wants to do. Charging's been pretty straightforward. I had a slow charger, a level 2 charger put in my garage months before I actually had this car. I do have free fast charging at my work, which is what I normally do. I'll charge it up a couple times a week at work, and then maybe just charge it at home on the weekends. I don't plan on road tripping it. I know you can. It's not really that big of a deal, but my wife has an Arcadia, and that'll be our car we take on road trips. This will really just be my car for going to and from work and having fun. And fun, it definitely is. These seats, I absolutely love them. Compared to the standard seats that I used when test driving these cars, these feel so good. And the cooled seats are just something I've never really had in a vehicle up until this point. My wife has it. I like them, but I was really glad to have cooled seats on a racing style seat that's this comfortable. Now, if you have kids and you're wondering, do 2 car seats fit in the back of this car? I have a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old, or 2.5-year-old and a 1.5-year-old, and the car seats do fit fine back here. I'm only 5'11", so it's not like I have my seat that far back. My daughter sits forward, my son still sits backward. There's plenty of room back there. She's not really able to kick the back of the seat how I have them set up now, so for the most part, fitting 2 kids in here is not really an issue. Performance-wise, this thing's a ton of fun to drive. Now, it's different. Like my Evo was fun to drive, but it was fun to drive for a different reason. It was, it was fast for the time when I had it. I had it tuned, I had an exhaust on it, I had a launch controller put on it, and it was a 5-speed, so it was a ton of fun to drive. It sounded great, but this is a different experience. This thing kind of feels like it's on rails, and it handles amazingly, and the acceleration is just out of this world. Now, it's not the fastest Tesla they make. That is the Plaid for sure, or even the Cyber Beast. But 2.9 is very quick, and anybody that's given a ride in this car is kind of blown away by how fast it is. My wife actually absolutely hates it. I'm really interested in maybe taking this to a track day. Up here in Michigan, there's a lot of tracks around that do track days, and I've never done one. I've always kind of wanted to, but I've really never had a vehicle at the time. I had a Mustang when there was track days near my house, but Mustangs are horrible at anything tracks. There's nothing my Mustang liked more than trying to pass its own front wheels. Now, since I spent such a long time looking at this vehicle, I saw everybody complain about the buttons or the lack of physical buttons, and I will say I don't understand that at all. I do not mind that the turn signal's right here. I actually prefer this now compared to like my wife's Arcadia with the stocks, or my truck. These are much better. I don't understand everybody's issue with them. The no physical buttons on the screen, at first, it's a little jarring, since when you first get in a Tesla, you don't really know where the menus are or what each one of these buttons does. But after having it for at most a week, everything is just super easy to navigate to. You know where your driving dynamics are, you know where your controls are for your steering wheel and your mirrors. Everything is easy to get to, and the software is just so far ahead of what Jeep and Chrysler or Ford or GM, it's just so much better than the stuff they use. Like the other day, I had to drive my wife's 2021 Arcadia Denali to take the dog to the vet for a checkup, and I forgot my phone, so I had to use the factory navigation on that vehicle, and it's so bad. And I know a lot of people hate the fact that Tesla you can't use Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. And again, I don't see the issue there. Now, I was originally kind of suspect about that because I used it so much in the truck and I liked it so much, and I kind of knew how crappy OEM navigations were, but it's just way better than anything else out there, and it's just as good, if not better, than Android Auto for sure. Now, the white interior, as you can see, that is what I chose. I've always been a black interior kind of guy, but I wanted to try something new, and since I paid attention to these vehicles forever, I know Everybody says that it's not something to worry about with kids. I have 2 little ones. They say it cleans up well, and I don't have any concerns that this is gonna tarnish over time. And even if it does, it's, you know, this isn't a museum piece. This is a car I drive every day, so it won't be a huge deal. And so far, taking the car seats out and wiping down all the Cheeto dust and Cheez-It dust hasn't been an issue from the back seat. Look at Full Self Driving, just doing its thing. As for nagging and stuff on this, you know, every now and then it tells you to tug on the steering wheel. I don't have the latest update where it does the eye tracking, but even before that update released, it pretty much seemed like this vehicle did eye tracking anyway. If you had sunglasses on, it was much quieter in its nagging. Every now and again, it would just tell you to touch the steering wheel. But if you didn't have glasses on and you were looking at the screen or off to the side for too long, it comes up way quicker. So even though, see, there's one of those yellow lights I was talking about. The yellow flashing lights, it just loves to have a little seizure at it. But yeah, without sunglasses, even though this isn't the eye tracking, there's no dot up here. If I'm looking straight ahead, it's fine. But if I look anywhere else for more than like a few seconds, the thing comes up, tells you to hit the steering wheel. But when you have sunglasses on, you can look all over, and it's kind of like it goes from eye tracking to head tracking. The ride is amazing in this vehicle compared to even my wife's Denali. I would have figured the Denali, her 2021 Denali, would ride much smoother and quieter than this, but it's not the case. When I drove it the other day, it kind of feels like a boat now, and it's louder than this vehicle. Obviously, it has an engine, so you got that a little bit of noise from that, but mostly road noise in the Denali is more than this Tesla. And obviously, since it's an SUV and not a car, it feels like a boat. Now, is a Tesla right for everybody? That's, who knows? I mean, there's a lot of people that absolutely hate electric vehicles, which I don't understand, and a lot of people that absolutely overly love them and think that ICE vehicles are going to go away, which is something else I don't understand. I don't really get the whole anti-EV or anti-ICE thing. It's just like, who cares? Like, who goes to the golf course and be like, you got gas golf carts? Just unacceptable. When you go to the golf course and you get an electric golf cart or a gas golf cart, it doesn't even register. You don't care. You're just there to golf and you want something to move around the course. And the same thing for electric vehicle. Yeah, they might not be good for road tripping, but then if that's something you do a lot, you do road tripping, don't buy an electric vehicle. I personally didn't buy an electric vehicle because I knew I was going to have to be my road tripping car and I didn't want to mess with it. But now that we have a separate vehicle that's dedicated for our road tripping family stuff, this thing's a perfect fit. I drive it to and from work daily. It does a great job at that. Full self-driving takes care of the drive for me. And then if I ever want to go rip around the back roads or go to a track day down by my house, it has the performance of, well, it has better performance than almost anything on the road, unless it's another Tesla. And I mean, it's the best of both worlds. And I should say, when I set out to buy an EV, I didn't want an electric vehicle. I wanted a Tesla, specifically because of full self-driving, and then it turned into I wanted some performance as well. But I don't think I would buy, you know, a Hyundai. I definitely wouldn't buy a Mach-E. I'm offended by the name. It's a pretty cool SUV, little SUV thing, but it's not a Mustang. But it's more to do with the infrastructure. The Tesla supercharger network, regardless of what is going on at Tesla and who's getting fired and who's not, is massive compared to everything else. Electrify America, for one. And it works, where, although I don't use Electrify America, I've watched plenty of road trips on EV, and it seems like the running joke is how many stalls do you have versus how many that actually work. And it's never I have 6 stalls and 6 work. It's like, here's 2 that are kind of working at limited power, the rest are broken. And with the supercharger network, you don't have to worry about that. And like I said, I can charge at work on a company fast charger. I work for ABB. ABB makes kind of some chargers for Electrify America, so we have some in our parking lot that I can use for free. There's a supercharger down the road, and I got a level 2 in my garage, so charging's not something I worry about. So even though I waited for literally 5 years to get this vehicle, after having it for, you know, 3 weeks, 2-3 weeks, and driving about 1,000 miles, I'm pretty happy with it. The performance is out of this world. The handling's great. The seats feel great. Charging's not an issue. Range hasn't been an issue. My GoPro just overheated, but that's okay. I think it's a good car. Is it the right car for you? It kind of depends on what you need out of a vehicle. Do you live in Alaska where it's -50 all the time and there's one charger in one city 30 miles down the road? No, you don't. Do you live in Florida where it's always warm and you can charge your house and you drive 20 feet to work every day? Yeah, then maybe. But it's up to you.